For Complex News, I'm Pierce Simpson. 2020 has certainly not been the year we expected. For all intents and purposes, this year has been pretty dreadful. But in the midst of adversity, we try to find the silver linings, like the music we listen to. While we couldn't enjoy all the new music that dropped this year in some of our usual ways, like at the bar or the live show, we still found a way to make the best of it. For me, I like to listen to new music whenever I cook or whenever I work out, which leads us to our annual list of the best albums. Now, I have some questions about some of the rankings, but we're not going to get into that. I know our music team is thorough, and they left no stone unturned when it came to making this list, so I'll talk to them another time. However, I will run down a list of some of my personal favorites that made the cut, and we'll also round out the top 5. Here's the list. Coming in at number 48 on top 50 best albums is Ty Dolla $ign. His album featuring Ty Dolla $ign is one of my favorite albums from this year, and I can be honest in saying that some folks inside the building here at Complex felt like this album was too low, myself included. Ty's 24-track album is a relatively smooth listen, with many of the melodies transitioning rather effortlessly. Ty's album has a slew of features that include Kid Cudi, Kanye West, and Post Malone, among others. Number 40, Juice WRLD, Legends Never Die. We recently crossed the year anniversary of the untimely passing of Juice WRLD, but his presence continues to live on through his art, and the project Legends Never Die arrives at number 40 on our list. The album is quintessential Juice WRLD, and his Billboard success shows that it resonated with his fans. Legends Never Die debuted at number 1 and had the biggest week for a hip-hop album or by a male artist in nearly 2 years. Lil Bibby shared back in late October that Juice WRLD has another posthumous album on the way. Rest in peace, Juice WRLD. Number 36, Ariana Grande, Positions. Ariana Grande has never been shy when it comes to putting her personal life into her music. Some of her most popular records have been about previous romantic relationships, but Positions seems to mark a new chapter for the songstress. While the lyrics on this album may be less descriptive in regards to relationships in her life, the sensuality of this album more than makes up for it. Positions seems to be another marker in the growth of Ariana both professionally and personally, and it seems that her sound could be shifting in the coming years. Positions was her 5th number 1 album. Number 28, Drake, Dark Lane Demo Tapes. I kind of had to do a double take when I noticed that Dark Lane Demo Tapes arrived at the list at number 28, but I had that feeling for multiple reasons. One, Drake's dominance for the past decade has rarely had a project of his ranked pedestrian for his standards on a year-end list. And number 2, the May release of this 14-song album seems like an eternity ago. But it's the perfect warm-up for Drake, who's scheduled to drop Certified Lover Boy at the top of 2021. But Dark Lane Demo Tapes has its fair share of records that'll continue to be the soundtrack to people's lives. Toosie Slide became a monster. Deep Pockets is my favorite record personally, and I can't tell you how often Time Flies is quoted on the TL. Number 19, Pop Smoke, Meet the Woo 2. Whether it's in the streets of New York, on your crush's Instagram videos, or even ordinary basketball mixtapes on YouTube, there's no denying Pop Smoke's sound has become a force within the culture. And it's all the more frustrating as his project Meet the Woo 2 came 2 weeks before his tragic passing in Los Angeles. Pop solidified himself as one of the leaders of the Brooklyn drill movement, and before his passing, the steps were in place to see Pop ascend to true mainstream stardom. In addition, he was even venturing into acting, with his posthumous acting debut coming in Eddie Wong's upcoming film Boogie, which should be in theaters March 5th, 2021. Rest in peace, Pop Smoke. The rest of the top 20 features albums from Jay Electronica, Bad Bunny, Gunna, Westside Gunn, and more. But what you're here for is the top 5. So let's get to it. Number 5, Benny the Butcher, Burden of Proof. I think Benny would tell you that he felt no pressure when making this album, but as a consumer, I think all eyes were on him, and he delivered. The bar last year was about branding, this one's about expanding and spot on, as the Butcher floats over all exquisite Hit Boy production. I spoke to Benny earlier this year on the eve of Burden of Proof, and his confidence in this project was evident. Guest features include Rick Ross, Freddie Gibbs, and Westside Gunn, but some of my favorite songs are Benny doing what he does best, barring up. Sly Green and Famous show you why Benny's wordplay is elite. Number 4, Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist, Alfredo. It seems like over the past few years, Freddie Gibbs has found his formula. While his devoted fans will call me crazy for that and tell me he's always had it, his recent run feels different. Freddie's latest projects have garnered critical acclaim, and Alfredo is no different. From God is Perfect to Scotty Beam, Freddie is mixing great sounds with great visuals, further showing his evolution as an artist. Alfredo was nominated for Best Rap Album at the Grammys, and deservedly so. Salute to Gary, Indiana's own. Number 3, Lil Uzi Vert, Eternal Take. Despite the label drama that plagued Uzi since 2016, the long-awaited release of Eternal Take did not disappoint. His fans obviously agreed because the album did tremendous numbers. 400 million on-demand streams the first week and went platinum by June. Something tells me that if we could have enjoyed life in a traditional sense, this album might have been even bigger. Number 2, Lil Baby, My Turn. If you just looked at his birthday alone, it was pretty obvious that Lil Baby had a great 2020. But if you looked at his output artistically, still pretty obvious that Lil Baby had a great 2020. Things started in February with the release of My Turn, his critically acclaimed album that firmly entrenched Baby as one of the brightest stars in the game. On top of that, Baby's attention to the moment paid dividends as well, dropping a bigger picture during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement this summer and resonating tremendously with his fans. That video itself has over 100 million views. Salute to an impressive 2020, Lil Baby, arguably Rapper of the Year. Number 1, The Weeknd, After Hours. Dropping back in March during the early stages of quarantine, After Hours is still able to hold up as the best album this year. I'm sure this wasn't quite the rollout The Weeknd imagined when crafting this project, but it held up, even after attempts to push the release back. After Hours pulls from everything in Weeknd's bag, with records that feel like his early 2011 mixtape days to overtly mainstream records that surely should have gotten heavy radio play like Blinding Lights and Heartless. After Hours is The Weeknd at the peak of his powers, and it seems like he has room left to grow. This definitely should have been nominated for a Grammy, no question. So that wraps up our best albums list of 2020. What are your thoughts? We want to hear them down below, and keep things locked to Complex News by subscribing to us on YouTube. For Complex News, I'm Pierce Simpson.